Today I am testing the Faber Castell Eco Pencils, which are cheap pencils from Faber Castell. I do have all of the affiliate links down below for the materials used in this video, which means that if you make a purchase using those links, I do earn a commission from that and I invest the money straight back into my YouTube channel, and there is no extra cost to you. So if you want to support the channel further, the links are down below, as well as all of the links to my social media, including Patron, where I upload real-time tutorials to every single month. So let's first talk about build quality. Now, build quality is very important because the better quality the pencils, the more that you're going to be able to get out of them. So they're going to be more durable and more sustainable. Now, because these are a much cheaper pencil than the Faber Castell Polychromos pencil, this was something that was worrying and a bit concerning to me. And there were a few things that I would definitely point out in terms of their quality. The first major thing is that they didn't have a protective barrel on the end of the pencils. Now that concerns me because, like we see with Prismacolors, if you drop the pencils when they don't have a protective barrel on the end of them, it can mean that the lead can shatter on the inside of the pencils, and then that will cause frequent problems with breakages. The other thing that I did notice with these pencils was that the lead themselves wasn't that great. It was quite a brittle lead. So a few times when I was sharpening these pencils or even drawing with them, I did suffer quite a few breakages, whereas the Polychromos, I don't get any of those problems whatsoever with, and I could definitely tell a big difference in the quality of the pencils. And I am showing a side-by-side shot there of the Polychromos and the Eco Pencil, so you can see the difference between them. The other thing with these pencils is that I noticed that the wood casing itself was quite frayed, so it wasn't as well made as the Polychromos. The wood casing is quite smooth, and that definitely affected the sharpening ability. The Polychromos pencil sharpens a lot better than the Eco Pencil in my opinion, and I did notice that when I was trying to sharpen the Eco Pencils, it did sustain some damage to the wood casing. So we are going to just test this sharpener just so that you can get an idea of what I'm trying to say and what I mean by the defects that you get with the pencils. The pencil sharpener that I am using is the Derwent Superpoint manual sharpener. This is one of my favourite sharpeners to use, and it really does sharpen the pencils really well. So I did test a few pencils from the Eco range just to be fair, because I don't really want to just test one pencil. It's not really something that I can base an opinion on, so I did test quite a few pencils. Now, it wasn't that difficult to sharpen them. When I did actually sharpen the pencil, I noticed that we did get a really nice sharp point with them, but there were times when the pencil did get stuck, and it also did fray the wood casing around the pencil as well, and that is definitely something to take into consideration. I'm also going to be testing these pencils with an eraser, and I'm going to be using the Derwent Art Eraser. This is one of my favourite erasers because it is a really great eraser to use with lots of different techniques. Now, it might seem a little bit strange testing an eraser with coloured pencils, but there are times when I do want to lighten up a sketch, and I will use an eraser to do this. So I wanted to make sure that this eraser was going to have an effect with these pencils. So what I did was I actually just created a pencil swatch, and then I just used the art eraser and just went over that swatch and tried to lift up some of the pencils. And I was actually quite surprised. It did lift up a lot of the pencil, which is good because I know that if I'm using these pencils and I want to create some lighter tones or lighter areas, then they do have the ability to erase. And I'm just doing a swatch next to the one that I've erased just to show you how much lighter it is when I use the eraser compared to not. The other thing that I really wanted to test was the white pencil from this set. Now, a lot of us know and are aware that the Faber Castell Polychroma's white pencil is not the best pencil to use because it is quite a translucent colour, whereas the Luminance white pencil is a lot more opaque and a lot more effective with pulling up highlights and also blending. So I did expect this pencil not to perform well, and I was right. Unfortunately, it really had no effect whatsoever with the pencils. I really struggled to get any highlight in there, and it just more than anything acted as like an extra layer of pencil over the top rather than really creating any highlights or blending the pencils out. They are very, very, very hard to blend and create highlights with. So this definitely isn't the best white pencil to use, and I would still use a Luminance. I also wanted to test the burnishing and blending techniques with these pencils, so I wanted to see how well they performed, and I definitely did struggle with these pencils. They are not the best at blending. I had some difficulty mixing colours together. It was also very hard to burnish layers as well. So burnishing is where you apply so many layers and then you apply a pressure to flatten the layers, and it was very, very hard to do this with these pencils. I got quite a lot of blotchy results with them and not that smoothness that I get with a lot of other pencils. I did have to apply a very heavy hand to really get any sort of good blending results with them, and I still wasn't very impressed with the results. Now, if we compare this to the Polychromos, I definitely feel that you get a lot better result with Polychromos. They are smoother, they are softer, and they blend a lot better than the Faber Castell Eco pencils. So I also wanted to test out the details as well. I really wanted to see how well these pencils perform with details. Details are very important, particularly if you're like me and you draw a lot of animals. I want to have a lot of details in there. And I have to say the pencils were okay for details, but some of the lines were quite thick and fuzzy. I also like to test out these pencils with the embossing tool. I use an embossing tool all the time for adding in extra areas of detail, particularly to fur. And this is the embossing tool that I use. This is a fantastic tool. I'm always recommending this tool, and I will use this as sort of like a base before I put in some coloured pencils. And what this does is it flattens the texture of the paper, so as you draw over it, the lines that you've created will show through, and this is why it is so effective for drawing things like fur. So you couldn't really see the result that I got with that lime green pencil, so I just went over this with a purple pencil, and you can definitely see that the lines show through really well. I'm also testing these pencils using an Acto knife. I use an Acto knife again for scratching away coloured pencil layers and revealing some undertones underneath, and this is an excellent technique again to use with fur because there's a lot of texture and detail to fur. So I just created a pencil swatch using that purple pencil again, and I'm just really roughly sketching this over the paper. And then what I'm going to do in a second is use the Acto knife and go over this and try and scratch some layers of pencil. And this definitely worked really well with these pencils. I have used this technique with Prismacolors and I don't nearly get as good of a result as I did with these pencils, so I was quite surprised about that, and I was very happy with the results that I got with the Acto knife. It did scratch away really easily. So my final thoughts on these pencils is that I think they're really good for beginners, and the main reason for this is because they are so affordable. Now, coloured pencils can be very, very expensive, particularly when you're going into some of the professional pencils and some of the biggest sets. The Luminance pencils, for example, are over £200 for a set of 76 pencils, whereas these pencils are really next to nothing when you compare them to the Luminance. They were quite blotchy and it was very difficult to blend the pencils as well, and it took a lot of layers to really get good results with them. But the pro to these is that they are good for details, and also I think if you're wanting to save money, have some pencils to practice with, then these might be a good option for you. So I really hope that you did enjoy this video today, and if you've got any other suggestions for things you'd like me to test and try out, let me know in the comments section down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching, keep creating, and I will see you soon. Bye!